When you own a property, you own it. But with a lease, well, you don't. But it's kind of all the same thing. This is Properly Brothers. Forever lease. We're on our way to meet the Howards. They've got a really cool vintage toy shop, but it's in a crummy location. So they're looking for a more upscale building with a better lease. Under the new standard, the lease will have to be recorded on the balance sheet as both an asset as well as a liability. Sure, but that would only apply if it was a capital lease, and real estate leases are almost always operating leases. Whoa, bro, that's the old rules. Under the new provisions of 842, all leases over 12 months will go on the balance sheet, regardless of their classification. Whoa, I see the issue. Is that it? Yup. Whoa, what a dump. Nice to meet you.
So, it's pretty obvious why we're looking for a new location.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight fit in here. Like your t-shirts, Drew. Thanks, bro. So, what's on your wish list?
Well, first off, we're looking to lease, not buy.
So you want a property that you can control for a period of time in return for paying consideration?
Well, yeah. That's usually what a lease is all about.
You'll have to forgive my brother. Under the new lease rules, the definition of a lease has changed.
Oh, I see. Well, we'll want to have the right to be open when we want.
You'll need that flexibility for this to qualify as a lease.
We also want the right to sell items other than toys. Maybe comic books or something.
We also thought it might be nice to hold some special events, maybe a wine and cheese party to highlight new inventory.
So it sounds like you want a lot of opportunity to use the new property to best meet your needs without the landlord interfering.
That's right. We want this to be our forever lease.
Well, with those parameters, I don't think you'll have any trouble having this contract qualify as a lease. Hey, remember one of these? You had one when you were a kid, remember? Yes, but you were always swiping it from my room. I think we have everything we need. We'll get going. I think that with the information they gave us, we can come up with some pretty good options. This is a pretty good property here. Besides being in a nice location, it's actually a suite of 3 units that are connected. So they would have all 3 leases rolled into one. It may from a contract basis, but for accounting purposes, it will need to be treated as 3 separate components. I don't get it. Kind of like your obsession with those plaid shirts. I don't get that either. No, I'm serious. Why would they be treated separately if there was only one contract? Because each unit could be used with their existing resources. In other words, they could benefit from each unit without having the other units. I see. It's really simply extra space. I kind of like this location here. Oh, that is nice. Plenty of space with lots of nice extras. The landscaping is fabulous, and check out the koi pond and fountain. Pretty classy, right? Yes, but pricey too. I'm sure there's a pretty hefty common area maintenance fee involved. So we just throw that in with a lease payment and see how it comes out. Maybe for analysis, but for the accounting, that will not be included. We'll have to keep it separate and treat it as a non-lease component. So CAM charges don't get capitalized? Nope, I say we give them their options. We've got a couple of options for you. In the first scenario, you get a suite of units.
That looks very doable.
And the second property has one big space, but the extras I love. Check out the koi pond.
That is pretty.
Now for the accounting. In either case, at the commencement of the lease, we'll set up both a right of use asset and a lease liability. To do that, we'll begin with the lease liability.
Why not start with the asset?
Because the liability is the foundation for the asset, and the liability will be measured at the present value of the lease payments. And those payments will include all the payments that you are reasonably certain you are going to have to pay.
Like any options to extend the lease?
That's right. Once we have that number, we'll take it and add in any initial direct costs.
Like what?
Unfortunately, in the 3-unit location, we may have to pay a small fee to get the current tenant in one of the units to move out.
We get to kick him out? That sounds like fun to me.
Oh my.
Believe it or not, the one with the koi pond is desperate for tenants, so they're offering a nice monetary incentive to move in. And that would be deducted from the right of use asset.
Why don't we pick the koi pond location? I don't like confrontation.
Whatever you want, dear.
If you're sure, let's get started. Ready to break your current lease? Overkill as usual, bro.
This is fun.
Thanks for agreeing to meet with us on such short notice. We need to make sure we've got the classification correct for this lease we're working on for a client.
No problem. Let's see what you've got. Okay. What's with the plaid folders?
Sorry about that.
I think they're pretty.
Would you like a pen? Anyway, we didn't know if this is going to be an operating or a finance lease.
The central issue here is to see if it resembles a sale.
Well, if it meets any of the 5 criteria, it will be a finance lease by definition.
It looks like the title never transfers and there's no purchase option.
2 eliminated, 3 to go.
The term is short enough that your client will not be using up the asset's useful life.
Unless it has really shoddy construction. Wait, and the amount they're paying doesn't even come close to the fair value.
Just 1 more to go.
Let's face it, the last one is easy. The landlord will have no trouble leasing this out again once they get it back. So it looks like you have an operating lease.
You see, I told you it would be an operating lease. Real estate leases are almost always operating leases. It always pays to check. Remember that place that you thought was wonderful until I discovered what the previous owner had buried under the floor in the garage? We agreed never to talk about that. I'll head over to the new place and get it ready. Good news and bad news. Let me have it. Good news, the place is ready to go once we replace the toilet. What happened to the toilet? That's the bad news. All the koi died. Really, what does that have anything to do with the toilet breaking? I tried to flush them down the toilet. Seriously? Did you see the size of those fish? Now I'm gonna have to call the Howards and tell them about the toilet. But don't mention the fish. She loved the fish. I'll go to the store and replace them before they get here. Okay, and I'll get the toilet. It took a lot of work, but we got the perfect lease for you. And you'll be happy to know that for accounting purposes, it'll be an operating lease.
What a relief.
So we'll be able to show a straight line lease expense over the term of the lease?
Yes, and that will be based on the total cost of the lease over the term.
This is perfect. I'm so happy I could cry. I'm going out to look at the koi.
Wait a minute. There's no legal way for me to ever get out of this lease. And it looks like it's for 99 years.
Well, yes, you said you wanted a forever lease.
And look what capitalizing the thing does to our debt to equity ratio.
Honey, these do not look like the fish in the photos.
I wouldn't reach in there.